Hi, Chef Chad here, and today we'll be making Christmas breakfast challenge using eggs. For our breakfast challenge, we'll be making a baked puff pastry with eggs, bacon, and mushrooms. So let's begin. Now we have our puff pastry. First, we slice it in the middle and the underside as well. So we'll have 4 squares. After that, we'll get our water, spread it to our puff pastry. Then after doing that, we'll be putting together our puff pastry by putting one on top of each other. After that, we'll be adding our egg wash on top, so to have a color to it and make it brown. Next, we'll be kneading our sheet tray with parchment paper. Just place it on top. We use a parchment paper so the puff pastry doesn't stick. So we'll be putting our puff pastry in the oven for 180 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes. So while our puff pastry is baking, we'll be sauteing our mushrooms and cooking our bacon. So make sure your pan is hot, and before that we'll be adding our Pacific Sunrise 100% vegetable oil. We'll be using this for our mushrooms. So here you go. Add like 2 tablespoons of our Pacific Sunrise oil, and then next our mushrooms. So we'll just be sauteing this until it's cooked, soft, and a little bit brown. Now that you can see our mushrooms are lightly browned, we'll set this aside first, then add our bacon. So next is our bacon. We'll make sure it's not too crispy as well, so it just has a perfect texture when we actually bite it together with all of our components. Okay, now we've finished baking our puff pastry and sauteed our mushrooms and bacon. Now we have to do is punch a hole on our puff pastry. So we'll be slicing square shaped in our puff pastry so we can put our ingredients. So push it. Do the same thing on the other one. Okay. Okay. And after that, we'll be adding our mushrooms. Next, we'll be adding our raw eggs. On top. There we go. Okay. Now that we've assembled our baked puff pastry, we'll put this again in the oven for another 20 minutes. So after baking it for another 20 minutes, here is the final result. Our baked puff pastry with eggs, bacon, and mushroom. Right, so let's move on to our dessert. So today we'll be making a quick, delicious chocolate loaf cake. Here are our ingredients for our chocolate loaf cake. 2 eggs, 100 grams brown sugar, 50 grams white sugar, 55 grams of cocoa powder, half cup of chocolate chips, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half teaspoon of salt, 155 grams of our Pacific Sunrise 100% vegetable oil, 260 grams of all-purpose flour, 150 grams of milk, and that's it. So I'm gonna show you how to combine all our ingredients. First, let's do our dry ingredients. Let's do our flour first. Let's sift it. We're sifting our flour so we make sure there's no lumps in our batter. So, sift this. Next would be our sugar. Our baking soda and salt. Let's sift our cocoa powder. Same thing, so there's no lumps. After that, we add our chocolate chips. Then we'll whisk it all together. So make sure that everything is mixed well. So okay, let's add all our wet ingredients. Crack 2 eggs. Add our secret ingredient, which is our Pacific Sunrise 100% vegetable oil. It has omega-6, omega-9, and has vitamin E and A. That's it. So what's nice about using oil in our cakes, it actually makes our cakes moist. So that's really the secret ingredient for our cake right now. There you go. Next we'll be putting our wet ingredients on our dry ingredients. We're gonna use a spatula to mix our batter. Reason being is if we use a whisk, the batter will stick to our whisk and it's just making everything dirty. So a spatula would be a cleaner option. So now we've mixed our batter. We'll be putting it into our coated butter and flour mixture loaf pan. Now we've put our chocolate batter in our loaf pan. I'll be adding another 1/4 cup of our chocolate chip on top. There you go. Make sure that we don't overfill our loaf pan. Only fill it up with around 2/3 of the way. So we'll be baking this in a 350-degree oven for 40 to 45 minutes. So after 40 minutes of baking, here is the final result. our quick, delicious chocolate loaf cake. Alright, on to our last item, our beverage. So what we'll be doing right now is our hot Mexican chocolate drink. What we need is a cup of heavy cream, a cup of milk, 100 grams of dark chocolate, half teaspoon of cayenne pepper, 1/8 teaspoon of cinnamon. We just add them all up. Then we'll just heat this up on our stove. And that's it. Now that we've heated up all our ingredients in the stove, we're gonna pour it now on our glass. Let's do something extra. We'll add a spoonful of our whipped cream. There you go, guys. Our hot chocolate Mexican drink. So here you go, guys, our Christmas spread. I do hope everyone enjoyed this video, and I wish everyone a Merry Christmas. Chef Chad here. See you next time.